My guest today is Sarah Patrick. She's a student at the University of Maryland, majoring in information science and operation management and business analytics. She's an information science student ambassador for the University of Maryland as well. Beyond that, she presents and volunteers for Tech Girls. She was a previous junior fellow for the Library of Congress, a SharePoint intern at the Smithsonian Institute. In addition to all of that, which is already a lot, she is a prolific speaker, giving presentations on Power Apps, SharePoint, Power Automate, and forums. And she was recently accepted into an internship with Amazon Web Services as a solutions architect intern. Wow, Sarah, wow. All of that is amazing. So
Thank you.
Share a bit about who you are, where you're from, and more even about all those activities that you're involved in.
Gosh, yes, absolutely. So I am from Northern Maryland, a little town called Jarrettsville, if anyone's familiar with that. Getting into STEM, really first, I think my parents had a great background for me of putting me in everything. So I went to science and math camps, but I also did like much beyond that. I played soccer, I played softball for a hot second. I did musical theater, I did dance. I played a bunch of instruments. I did basically everything. So I definitely wasn't stuck on one path. I was shown many different things. But I definitely found myself academically finding interest in STEM. So from that, I went to a science and math high school called the Science and Mathematics Academy to further explore that interest. And I found myself pretty much the same. I was like, oh, this is all interesting, but nothing specific really touched me. I wasn't really sure yet. So a little bit more about my background getting into Tech Girls is that my dad's company, DSA, wanted to start going around our county to start holding these Tech Girls workshops. Tech Girls is a nonprofit that provides these technical workshops to get girls more interested in tech. And for our first one, my dad was like, hey, you should lead the first one. And I was just a sophomore in high school at the time, very much still very shy, really little to none speaking experience. And I was like, why would I do that? I'm not sure about that. No thanks. But he convinced me that I would be a good role model for these girls, someone that's a bit closer to their age, being a leader of teaching this workshop. And he knew that I was interested in STEM. So I did that first one. Not gonna lie, I was super nervous. I was teaching on something that I didn't really know about. It was WordPress, which I had never used at the time. So I had to teach it all myself. Well, not all myself. Tech Girls does a great job of providing a curriculum and a slide deck and everything that you need. But I still needed to learn it. And I was terrified. I thought these girls were gonna hate it. But I was so wrong. These girls were so into it. And from that, that was a turning point for me, seeing how excited these girls were, how into it they were, but also with myself of teaching it myself and learning it and then doing it for the girls. It really stuck with me that, oh, I think tech is meant for me. So really since that and continuing volunteering and doing some more technical topics through high school, that's where I found myself getting into information science in college and then adding the business major to help supplement some more foundation knowledge of getting into the real world.
Wow. So I happen to know, because I know you, that you speak at a lot of pretty big events. I mean, what gives you the drive to do that? I mean, you're already a college student doing a lot of stuff, volunteering for Tech Girls. That's big. And now speaking at conferences and user groups across the country. How does that work for you?
Yeah, so honestly, it's a pretty similar experience of how I got started with Tech Girls. Now I just freshly entered college. I'm ready to explore everything that's college. And my dad's like, hey, you know how I speak at all these conferences? You should start speaking at them. And I had just finished my first internship at the time, which was with the Project Management Institute. And I was like, no, again, I was like, not for me. And this time he was like, that's too bad. I already signed you up. And I was like, are you kidding? Why would you do that? And I was honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, a very similar experience because I was scared again because now am I speaking to middle school age girls who are probably don't know much about what I'm going to talk about. At these conferences, there's professionals and full-on adults. Like I was 18 at the time. They're definitely older than me. So I was really nervous. But again, very similar where I got such great feedback, and it's been 2.5 years now that I've been doing it, and I've grown so much with my professional skills with presenting and networking, learning more about the content that I teach on because people ask questions and I'm like, oh, that's a great question. Let me learn more about that. Or I'll just talk with other people about the subjects that I presented on or if they presented on. So, yeah, again, a really rewarding experience that you just learn so much through others and then about myself as well.
Awesome. So, I mean, you've been doing this for a little while. I like to ask a change questions. What would you change about this? But also, what would you change about the way we present IT to people that we want to get involved?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think as a student, especially still entering the workplace, the IT world is seen to be extremely competitive, and I
Mm,
think that's what scares off, especially females, because it's already a male-dominated world as well as being really competitive. So I think I've actually done a bunch of studies for some of my, read a bunch of studies for my classes that these are reasons why females like me will turn to education instead, or like health services, like more of the stereotypical female jobs. And because of that stigma, that's why we still have that gender gap. And
mm,
I wish that would be changed of that perspective for us that we don't need to enter the top 4 companies in the tech world in order to be successful. Like we shouldn't be scared of entering it because of all these different factors. If there's a way to get it to be more welcoming to all of us, that was what I would love to change because I think as a middle schooler, knowing that earlier would have really helped me figure out my interests sooner.
mm, definitely. So, Sarah, where do you see yourself going? You're a junior in college.
Mhm.
What's next for you, and where is this heading?
My goodness, that's a great question. So obviously, I will be interning at Amazon Web Services, so that'll be really exciting to get a change of those government agencies I did beforehand and doing some of the corporate world, figuring out which one might be better for me in the long term. But after that, I do plan to get my master's degree. I am currently on a +1 track for information systems. So I'll continue my education to get that. And then ideally, after working as maybe a data scientist or a data analyst, I would love to eventually go into more of a managerial role for a technical team, whether that's a project manager or just a data manager, something a little more leadership role, because I definitely feel myself doing that now, even in the school setting.
You definitely have what it takes to be a leader. I've seen you involved in a lot of things, and you are a role model I hold up for my daughter. And so I'm glad that we got to meet you. And thank you so much for coming on my podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.